The time has come. I'm the last one. Thank you for your patience being here, staying here for my presentation. I have been with the Canal organization several years. Next month it's going to be 30.
7 years? 30. 31.
30 years? I noticed that in the refrigeration field, of which I was an apprentice back in 1960, I have noticed the changes in 3 decades, especially in the last decade due to the 3D implementation. The work conditions have changed, and if you see them to the point from which I saw them in the performance of the team that works, that gives service and maintenance to refrigeration equipment. The first thing that I've noticed is that when the needs diminished, so did the apprentices. I believe the last refrigeration and air conditioning apprentice that I had was about 10 years ago. How was the way work was done in the past? I was an apprentice myself. I would go with the mechanic, with the technician, and help him do his job efficiently while I was learning and while I was getting from his experiences my own experiences. This team, apprentice worker, apprentice mechanic, was my standard then. I couldn't compare it with any other. We had helpers also for special heavy lifting activities, cleaning activities, but mainly the team was mechanic apprentice. Due to the needs of the Panama Canal, due to the new conditions, we no longer give service to the DoD buildings and equipment. And some activities have gone to the private sector. The apprentice load disappeared. The apprentice disappeared. So that leaves the mechanics and the helpers. So what happens now? It takes me more time to come to a piece of equipment, take it apart, do the repair, and put it back together by myself than naturally with an eager young person that needs to learn and wants to learn and is willing to do a great percentage of the job by himself while I was. So what happens? The mechanic is going to take longer to do the job. When doing my training needs analysis, I detected these things. Problems of the organization must reduce mechanic on-the-job time, improve manpower potential to cope with changing times, and no apprentice input for near future workload. And as I mentioned, the future opportunity for organization, contract out some maintenance or repair operation, etc., etc., etc. So, in doing my work, I thought, why don't we motivate these helpers? Why don't we tell them what is the operation they're helping to perform? Why don't we motivate them to see if they become quasi-apprentices? That would be beneficial to themselves, beneficial to the mechanic, beneficial to the organization. So then start devising a short program to offer to the organization to bring the helpers in groups of no more than 6 to the school for 16 hours divided in segments of 1 or 2 hours at a time, probably 4, depending on the needs and necessities of the organization. And teach them and let them learn, let them acquire some feeling of hands-on. They are not allowed to touch the equipment. Here they will be allowed to experiment with the equipment. Let them learn so that they can become a more efficient assistant to the mechanic. This is mainly the overview of what I plan to do, demonstrate today.
All right, as you did your needs analysis and picking up data and reflecting back on that, what information did you pick up that had the greatest effect, had the greatest impact on the way you designed your program?
The time charged to the jobs reflected that. Time means money to the organization. The cost of a repair or maintenance job had increased to almost double because the mechanic is taking longer.
So you didn't know that before. You picked it up as part of the needs analysis. And so how did that impact the design of the training that you put on?
By my own experience, since I was an apprentice and a mechanic in the past, tells me that if you work with a more efficient helper, you reduce your time on the job.
All right, so are you saying then that this piece of information was a primary factor in saying do the training? That became a reason to do the training? That it was so costly not to do the training? Is that what you're saying?
The package was offered based upon a number, quantity of cost. Yes.
So a large rationale for going ahead to do the training, to go to that red level of doing the training program, was the relationship between the cost
Maintenance. So that my target audience will be 4 volunteers. Harold, Glenn, will you also? John?
Hey, wait a minute. We can't have just a man up here. I'm sexist.
Are you bowing out? Is that what you're saying?
No.
A volunteer lady. Come on, John.
I'll go, Mark. I don't understand much math.
You are
So you need your source. So you're going.
You are 4 helpers hired from ex-Chorrillo about a year ago. You probably haven't even finished high school. Are just earning your wages, and you wonder, what am I doing in this organization except walking behind this man carrying his tools? That's the target audience. So now we'll begin the presentation. So, good morning. Yes. Welcome to the apprentice school. Pedro Pinzon is my individual there.
May I join you?
How are you? I had your names behind it, see if I remember. Len, John, Miriam, Carl. Most of you have seen me before because I went to your place very frequently. To say that I was almost born in that place, I went to that shop as an apprentice many, many years ago. I also worked there as an air conditioning and refrigeration mechanic. And I have been at the school since 1972. I want to thank you for your interest in coming to this program. We all know now that our main subject is refrigeration and air conditioning. You have seen, you have helped work in the maintenance and repair of costly equipment like this one. And probably you haven't got any closer than what you are. You will not be able to harm it. It's made for this. Go ahead and manipulate it, touch the buttons, and take a look at what it does. See?
How'd you do, John?
Customer complaint. You. Operates normally, huh?
Yes.
Didn't blow up.
Okay. Now that you have seen this close,
I need-
later in this course, you will be able to come and actually operate this. Please go back to your seats and let me give you these handouts that will explain to you later in the day what we're going to do with that training. That training is an operating air conditioning system. We probably want to know if we really understand something like this. I'm sure you have seen this before. What is that? But we don't know really what it does more than to make cool, to produce foam. Will we? So how do we get to there? We can make that easier for you if we present it like that. You will probably see it better, clearer. So this is a machine that we work on to produce coal. We get coal from ice. We can produce ice with those machines. And this brings us to the point of what we are working with. We are working with solids, we're working with liquids, we're working with gases, which are what have around us. In these three states of matter. John, what are these three states of matter you find around us?
Solid, liquid, and gas.
And right here, we see how many types or kinds of materials, right? Three. What are they made out of, Miriam?
Water.
So it's one what? Or one single substance.
Substance.
So you can find in 3 states. This matter is everything that what? That is around us, everything that exists. We are made out of matter also. And matter is, if we get a powerful microscope, what we will see when we get a microscope to show the matter. That matter is made out of tiny little things. material, you get a microscope powerful enough, will bring out the detail that the matter is made by little tiny things called molecules. The line doesn't really matter. Yeah, with minute things, and even the molecules subdivided things from the atom. So we have heard about the atom bomb and all those things. Those are minute things that make all matter on Earth, or we know. And every substance has its own characteristics. Now here, our same microscope showing the little minute particles, and we have here an example of the water molecule, which is different than the molecule of this gas, which tells us what? That every material what? Miriam?
It's different, that's different.
Different characteristics. What? They are all made out of what, Harold? What materials are made out of?
Atom.
Atoms. And
Phasons.
which atoms make what when? Will they join and make what minute part?
Molecule.
Very good. Very good. So now that I got you all mixed up, you may ask me questions. So far you say, what do I have
To do with
to
that.
do with that? Huh?
How do you break up atoms? What do you get?
Okay, that is a question I was waiting you.
What do you say?
Atoms have
What does that have to do with that?
We're producing coal, huh? Okay, let's see how we produce this coal. Here we have solid, here what? If we put heat, does anybody know what heat is?
energy.
Oh my goodness, energy. Yeah. Energy. Heat is a form of energy. Very good, Harold.
Passion.
So if we put energy to this ice, what will happen to the ice? To the ice, John?
It'll melt.
It will
Become a
melt.
liquid.
It will melt. It will become a liquid, and when we keep adding heat to that liquid, what happens?
Will evaporate.
It will evaporate. No? As you can see, molecules are vibrating here. By the way, this vibration means something else. If those molecules vibrate like that, and you add more heat, they vibrate more or less?
More.
More. If they vibrate more, they rub against each other. If you rub your hands, what happens?
Heat.
Heat. So that increases what? The temperature. The temperature, and you can measure that. You can measure temperature with this instrument that are called what? Thermometers.
No, isn't it that thing to check humidity?
In your
You
last
have
class.
been to These are two thermometers. You remember that? Two thermometers. Where do you see that instrument?
I saw previous instructor, Mr. Ryan, I believe, taught me this about something about this.
So that brings to the point that thermometers measure more than one thing.
I guess so.
Are you sure of that?
They measure one thing, we can use it though to figure out.
That's excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Now you can figure out other things with this measurement that you take. So anyway, thermometers measure temperature. By having, in that previous example, by having the one with the wet bulb, the wet sock, and the other one with the dry as it is, you would do two different what?
Temperature.
Okay, so we are adding heat. And now what happens to the molecules? They move freely, they separate more and become a what?
Gas.
A gas. You keep adding heat and everything will become gas. So here we have,
So if you decrease in reverse order, you get back to the solid.
that's brilliant, Harold, that's brilliant. So you are
Are you sure
beginning,
you grew up in Chorrillo?
I Ask Myra, she
I
took
think
me
you're
up
a
the...
plan. San Miguelito.
Let's come back. That's really narrow.
I know.
If we get this same, if we get this same slide here, same transparency, if we remove the heat from this will become, you told me that, if we add the heat, this liquid will become a gas. So if we remove this heat, this gas will become
Liquid.
a liquid. So if you take off this heat, what will happen to this liquid? Become a... So we have made what? Yes, John.
When I went to Thomas Alva Edison High School in Chorrillo, they told me that you have to make it colder to make it colder. I mean, you have to add some cool air to bring that into a solid, right?
Yes. You have to remove what?
Heat. You remove heat, but
Heat.
in the temperature of my room here, it won't happen. It won't turn to a solid, right?
Now we're getting into closer to our machine. Closer to our machine.
Physics 101.
Okay. Have you, how many of you use aftershave lotion?
I remember.
Have you ever had a fever or that you have, they put some alcohol? And
Yeah.
what have you felt when you use alcohol in your skin? Have you felt something?
Cool.
Cool. You felt cooler. Have you ever thought why? Why do you feel cool when you put alcohol? What happens to that alcohol then after a while?
Evaporates.
After a while it what? It evaporates. Why did it evaporate? Because it needed what in order to evaporate? It needed what?
Heat.
It needed heat. Where did it take the heat from to evaporate?
From your body.
From your skin, from your body.
Oh,
So if you get a liquid that, yeah, go ahead.
I get it. So that's the same principle with air conditioning.
That's the
You
main
apply
principle.
something that extracts the heat
That is
and
the
converts
main-
it
the
in
main
reverse order.
principle. In the air conditioning systems, we have nothing more than the basic thing, nothing more than a liquid that evaporates, but in order to evaporate, it removes the heat from where? It needs the heat from the ambient. Whatever media you are cooling, you're going to remove the heat from that area. I'm mixing you up.
Yeah. You told me to cool it, you need the heat.
Remove the heat.
You remove the heat, that will make it not evaporate. Remove the heat.
Yes. You are, this heat that is here is causing this to evaporate.
Okay, so you remove the heat, and it's going to condense
Yes.
the gas. Whatever it is.
Let's do an experiment here. Let's do an
So
experiment.
you take the air from outside. That air goes to that liquid that cools and then pumps out into the room and converts to cool air.
Repeat that to me, please.
Okay, it takes the hot air, let's say from outside.
Yes.
Or it takes air,
Yeah, it's
passes it through some duct that has the cooling
the
system,
cooling element. Yes.
and then reduces the temperature, takes
Yes.
away the heat,
Yes.
then it kicks out the cool air. And that's all it is.
That's
So
all it is.
Take, outtake, and in between. it's
In
like
between, there is a process that removes the heat.
Look, why do I take so much
So,
for mine?
how do we achieve that? How do we achieve that? With a liquid that evaporates. A liquid that evaporates. So we have, like in this tank here, in which we have liquid here, and some vapor naturally on top of it. It's closed, it's pressurized. If we get this liquid, like we got the alcohol on our skin, and let it evaporate, it will produce cold. Liquid, under high pressure, it's pressurized. You let it go here and let it evaporate. It will produce cold, which is the absence of heat. Reduce the heat inside of this. Yes, Jeff.
You lost me.
Oh.
I got a liquid in that tank under
Yeah.
pressure, right?
Let's have Len help us. Len. What do we have here? Well, this liquid goes through this pipe, and we release it to a larger container. It was at high pressure here. Now we release it
It's at low pressure. there.
another container which is open to the atmosphere. What's going to happen to this liquid here?
Remove the heat.
Yes. No. What's going to happen to the liquid? Len?
It's going to become cold air.
What's that?
Evaporate.
Now, Len. The liquid itself is going to evaporate, but we know from before that in order for a liquid to evaporate, it needs to absorb what?
Heat.
Heat. So it's going to be absorbing the heat from where? From everything around it. And it's going to evaporate, then it's going to go away. Who's going to pay the liquid bill? This costs money. So what do? We have to devise a method of remaking this back into what? Into a liquid.
When did our first air conditioners?
Beg your pardon?
50s?
Pardon me?
ACs came out in the 50s?
Aviation in the 50s, yes. In the 50s.
What they used before that?
Well, I heard the Pharaoh in Egypt,
Had a,
when he went to another castle or another pyramid to sleep, his slaves would get the massive walls away from the city into the desert where it was cold in the night, and let the walls cool down and bring and reassemble them before the sun come up every morning, so His Highness would be comfortable during the day. That's in the books. That's history.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Gee, that's a
I need to
pamphlet,
be a
man.
fellow.
No way.
I need to be
And
a
of course, before that, you could get huge blocks of ice from the
From the
colder
Alps.
countries and just place them around and make it look cooler, or have a slave running you all the time.
Thank you.
But man made the machine. Man made the machine in which we have the same pressurized liquid which goes to where, Miriam? To this,
Here.
to
So
this,
bigger.
to this container here, which has lower pressure, no? Than this one here, and it will evaporate, doing what to the heat that was inside here?
Absorbing.
Absorbing the
The
heat.
heat in the.
So this goes fuller of heat, just like a sponge picks up water. That vapor picked up the heat. So this goes away, and instead of blowing it to the atmosphere, we try to push it back into here by using a device named what?
Compressor.
A compressor. We want to compress it and bring it back to the original shape and form.
Wait a sec, it's my turn now.
Now, Harold.
Where's the
That's
storage
so
tank? That has
okay.
a liquid.
This has to be.
Okay, it goes into that little green one there.
Yeah,
That's the one, wait. In that green one, it's absorbing, that's, what's inside that green one? Is it a liquid?
No, that's a
Is
container.
a container absorbing the heat from the refrigeration box?
Yes, yes.
The refrigeration box is hot.
Yes.
Yeah, hot air.
Yeah, the heat goes and travels here and
And
makes
it
this
cools,
liquid.
but right there at that point, it cools, doesn't it?
I have a question.
Yes, yeah.
If that thing is absorbing the heat, if the gas in that blue box is absorbing the heat, then the air that's in the box must be absorbing cold. Is that right?
Absorbing cold.
Or
Can you
becoming
absorb
colder.
The air is
No?
becoming what? Now,
Colder?
it's becoming colder because the heat is traveling from this space to here, into there. So it is insulated here, box,
Because
because the box is insulated like an ice chest.
okay, with that blue thing, the temperature in it is colder than the outside of the air, the insulated box.
This
Because it's
is,
receiving
That's
the
still a
liquid.
colder temperature.
that's cold because you produce the effect by evaporating that liquid.
Right. Okay, I'm with you.
Yes.
Is that the reason that when an air condition has a compressor broken, they say you better throw it away?
Well, yeah, sometimes, most of the time, because this is the most expensive part. Like I showed you before, that's the heart of the system. So we are where? We are compressing this vapor back into his original form. What happens to all that heat? It has to be thrown away somewhere. Because energy, gentlemen, exists, period. You cannot destroy it or make it.
It's a constant.
Constant. So this heat that you absorb here is going to go out where? To the outside. That's why you feel when you
That heat when you pass
next to an air conditioner, the outside of the air conditioner, you feel what there? Hot.
It is hot.
And then when it releases that heat, no? When you release that heat from the vapor, what happens to the vapor? It becomes a what? A liquid again. And here we have the liquid again. Which we circle back to the center, and we make what is called a cycle. That is the refrigeration cycle that you can find in all the systems that you saw at the beginning.
In a refrigerator, is it somewhat similar?
It is
Exactly.
similar, exactly the same. And here is again.
Okay, you have 10 minutes left.
Oh, pretty good on standby.
Here is again. Does it give you water? The same cycle, no? Which we start by. Where did we start the cycle? We had what
Gas.
kind of a substance?
Yeah, the liquid.
We have a liquid.
Cold liquid.
Let's find the liquid here. No?
In the heart?
It says liquid receiver. So we go through a device that we will study later, all these components. Through a device that makes it expand going into that container, remember? Expand and start evaporating here in something that is called naturally the evaporator. It evaporates. Right here in this is where it's going to absorb the heat that you don't want to be there. You don't want the heat to be there. You want to remove that heat. You don't want that heat over there. You remove it right here, and that heat will cause this liquid to what? To evaporate. Then what happens, Miriam?
Extra the cycle
It goes where?
to the bigger
It goes to where? How do you call that?
compressor.
Goes to the compressor. What is the compressor going to do, John? It's going to
It's gonna compress it.
It's going to compress it, bring it back. That big volume, and you're going to put it in the little volume, no? Like when you get the sponge and you let it saturate with water, and when you compress a sponge, what happens?
All the water comes out.
The water comes out. The same, the sponge, which is this liquid, evaporated, became a vapor, it soaked that heat just like the sponge soaked the water. Now you are squeezing that sponge, no? And the heat comes out, like the excess water comes out of the sponge, and the sponge becomes ready to do the work again, over and over and over again. In these types of systems that you are more familiar with, that you have seen, and that you work every day in this system. Now, why do you want to know all about these things?
So we know how to operate the machine.
Huh? Why do you want to know these things?
Well, just deviating a little bit. We're the target audience,
Yes.
and we are the help.
Why do you
Okay,
want to
so
know?
we need to understand the system so that we can pinpoint or be able to know where to look for problems or to look at the logic of
Do you want to replace the mechanic?
No.
I want to become
You want to become a mechanic?
a mechanic.
You have aspirations in life,
Yeah, I
right?
would like.
So this will give you a tool. Also, don't you have friends and friends of friends who have fancy houses over there that are not in Chorrillo?
Who need
Window
help?
units, huh?
I mean, who need
Who need what?
Panama?
Ah! Yes, yes, you can go and say, well, I know now what goes inside that machine. May I help you, sir? May I help you, ma'am?
I work for PCC.
Ah.
That's good.
I hate paying that guy every time my air conditioner breaks down.
Ah, nice.
So Pedro, I think I know what you're saying, what you are saying. That's how you got started, huh?
Well, I'm glad you guys are
Hey, these guys for Canal air conditioning mechanics, they come to work as a hobby.
I know.
Making money at home.
That's all right.
Is that the
So
guys from
what-
each side?
It's a lot of business.
What have we learned here? What have we learned?
I have learned that you're so inspiring.
No, we're still in the class, are we? We're still in the class. We have learned that this noisy pieces of equipment of any size have a compressor, have an evaporator, and have a condenser, and pipes that conduct, that refrigerant in two of its states. What two states of the matter is this refrigerant in the cycle? In
Water,
in liquid and
gas.
and the same that you see in this rather complicated drawing, the same is right here. The compressor. Well, let's start this cycle. Where did we start this cycle?
At the
In the form of a liquid.
Hot liquid, right?
Okay, we have hot liquid
High
here.
pressure.
Compressed liquid comes
low pressure.
to that thing that is called what?
Compressor.
No, you
That's the ice box.
Huh?
That's the ice box.
Sorry, but this is an air conditioner, remember?
That's where the air part.
Yes, okay, that's for the air part. That's good. That's where the air is going to be managed. Where the air is going to be conditioned. Okay? You're going to clean this air with this filter, and you're going to cool that air and bring it into the room.
That's right.
The heat of the room is going to cause this liquid to what, friend?
Evaporate.
To evaporate. And here we have vapor, which is going to, we want to put it back in operation. Making what? A what? A cycle. Again and again. So what do we do with that? With that vapor, we take it into this big, expensive, noisy thing that is called what? Compressor. And we compress it, and like you're squeezing that sponge saturated with water, the water represents, in this case, in this example, the heat. We're going to remove the heat in something called the condenser. You see it has a fan, gets in there, and just all the hot air comes out of the top.
I'm ready to start taking them apart.
Now wait till you learn more about the safety before you start taking these things apart. Because later on today, we will go one by all the components. We will go about the rules of safety in handling this. You have electrical hazard, you have mechanical hazards that you have to be aware of. So when you are working with the mechanic, helping the mechanic, you know where you put your finger and where not to put your finger.
How about the gas? The gas.
The gas used in modern refrigerant system is not considered to be a poison. You don't go breathing it all the time, but because it displaces the oxygen, it displaces the oxygen, then it can suffocate. Anything else? Up to this point.
I'm clear.
You know what is coming next, no?
The test.
No. No, Pedro was once an apprentice. I don't know when you do this.
Okay.
I will ask you some questions. You will answer themselves, and we'll discuss them in groups.
I'm ready.
I will take care of your boss. I will tell him how you are doing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
That's a good word. I usually need all the help I can get.
Okay? Don't worry. Pedro is behind you.
All right.
I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Well, are you able to sleep? sleep tonight.
Okay, did that go about the way you expected?
Yes. Really.
I only mind because
Last night I went to my lesson plan again.
You're not messing.
And it went just like I visualized
I'll
it
be
last
the
night.
judge of that.
The timing was about the same,
Yes.
okay? All right. So how you feel now that it's finished?
Well, I feel reconstituted.
Not to say the same words, but really.
Reconnected with humanity?
Yes, it is. See, I have been doing less teaching and more administrative in the past years. I really enjoy when I get a group like this, you know, and I feel part of the group. And I like the feedback I got from this group. I really enjoy it.
If you had it to do over again, would you do anything different?
For this segment,
Suppose it got come back.
for for the presentation, for this segment, see, this is a segment which is not really concluded. We have to go on and on. No? What do you mean by a bad group?
Well, you like to interact. You don't just
Yes.
from your point. If you get a group that's not
That is
reacting,
true.
who's not getting it.
Well, maybe I would go to the humorous way or use anecdotes and break the ice. Maybe. Try to get the group into this mood.
But of course
I
you're
noticed Len's role was of that passive student. What am I doing here? What am I doing?
You had prepared all these, everybody for that role?
No, sir.
Oh.
I asked for help by this moment.
What part of this were you most concerned about going well?
Getting rid of the basic things and getting into the specific that what they wanted to hear. But at the same time, letting the group know that those basic things were the basis of the whole history. Just like medical books start with the cell, over and over and over.
All right. What did you notice that you would say is a strength? Miriam?
There was no other choice for a participant there than to learn what he had to teach.
Okay.
That's the way I felt. I had no other choice. He put it together in such a way, and
Okay,
I
what did
had-
he do?
I
What
was
did he
part-
do then that makes you, that we
He-
could follow?
Yeah, he had everybody, aside from the fact that he had everything very simply explained that we could relate to, and he built up to what he wanted to say. Each individual had to participate. Not only speaking, but had to actively, his brain had to be working on what he was doing. There was no other choice, because even Len, he was not participating, he was not speaking, but when he asked him, he knew right where he was. Because the process that he was following was so logical, so specific, and he forced you to participate, that you had no other choice.
All right, let's stick with this. What did
Let
he
me
do?
follow on to that. My being passive was a compliment to you
Thank you.
because you were put me in that state. I was following what you were doing
Everything.
perfectly.
I think from the very beginning, got our names individually, shook hands, repeated our names, smiled, was very relaxed, and all that communicated sincerity. So you were immediately at ease, and he really enjoys trying to get into you, very simply, and that's what made it so easy, very logical.
Yes.
He used really vivid illustrations and hand movements, so you really have this feeling of his enthusiasm and participating in that enthusiasm, because you do it in a very physical way that draws you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sponge goes down.
Patricia?
I like the idea of letting them go up and, touch the machine, because one is usually curious, and getting rid of that curiosity, at least for the time being, then your attention is placed on what he's had to get into.
Go ahead, do anything to it.
Especially when these are people that in the work site are not, they don't let them touch the equipment. You kind of just have to sit back. So I think that's a very good technique.
What do you mean in the work
Preparing.
site, they don't touch the equipment?
They don't actually work on the equipment, they
Ah,
just
okay.
pass the instruments, that's what I understand, right?
Is that the way?
Very passive role.
Passive role.
Yes, I could say my opinion too, the same as you, but you may think that I'm a brush because he's my supervisor.
We call that cepillo.
Yes, the people.
Carlos, let us relieve you of that. We already think that anyway.
No, but I would have to say the same as you all have said, that always was said that there was no other way to other than learning, because it was so simple to explain.
Okay.
And his repetition, he kept repeating and going over it until he was certain that they understood until that point what he had explained. And every time in a different way.
Okay, did y'all note that?
Yes. It was the same point, but several.
Did anybody not like that repetition?
Well, that was
No,
very
I needed
useful.
Sometimes we have a feeling we're overdoing it, but it's extremely important. That repetition and summarization, which you did very effectively. Rebecca?
He gets his energy from the people.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
I'm sorry. Okay. No, I think that he do get his energy from the people. I really believe that as the class continued, he was really getting,
Yeah.
that energy there. So, I can
Yes.
scratch that.
I can scratch that, I can't do that.
That was your idea. I would also like to say that he condensed a lot of material in little time. Material from high school, molecule, atoms, and so forth, in a way that it was still simple, but you had all the background that you needed for the rest of the explanations he was going to give, which was very good.
Are you surprised? Did you hear that? You knew you were doing this, right?
Yeah,
Good. Okay.
In addition to illustrating it the way he did, when talking about atoms and molecules, etc. So the visuals
he
were
had
very
the
good
visuals.
to explain something that's tangible.
It's almost like you wish that the people who taught you how to ride a bicycle or drive a car for the first time would have gone through the steps that Pedro and
Right.
Dan
Yeah.
went through.
This is good feedback, you guys.
I thoroughly enjoyed him. I found him having the same enthusiasm that Sandra had in her presentation yesterday. Just very, very enjoyable. He also realized when somebody was not getting the concept. You went right to that person. What don't you understand? Let's go over it again, making sure that they did understand before you went on. I thought his visuals were very, very effective. The drawings and the coloring to reinforce everything he was stating. Very, very good.
Yeah, I'd just like to pick up there too. I think the coloring of your visuals was essential. Because I don't think you would have gotten the reaction you did if it was not in color. Because if you notice the way people were distinguishing between the colors, the green, the blue, well in the green area, if it was not in color, they would not have been as useful to the learner to distinguish all those systems. So that was an important piece of work there. And those things, sometimes, what we're saying is that you really don't put all these visuals together until the very end of the process. And in many cases, if you have a short turnaround time on training, you're the night before you're putting your visuals together. And so little things like that color make a big, big difference in the way your session is going to go. So you did that very well. Pat, did you have a...
Well, I've seen this, he would put the first few words, he'd wait for an answer, and then he'd say, right.
Yeah.
I've seen that you've done very ineffectively, and that ride and body movement made that work beautifully.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Something important he mentioned, and I think it's crucial here. He has been doing so much administrative work. Can we do something about it? can we tell this excellent instructor he should go at least 2 times a month to a classroom? Do you know what I mean? I don't know, the
It's
system
a
is...
shame to lose that skill.
Yeah, because it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean he's not a good administrator. That's the reason why he's doing administrative work, because he has to be a good administrator too. Now let me go to the things I put here, because I think it was incredible. Familiar grounds, the heart, the compressor. You know, I have to understand even if I don't want to, I have to, because it's familiar to me, this thing about the heart and the veins and the circulation and the thing I call the jig puzzle sequence. The sequence was a jig puzzle. Tuk, 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 tuk. Everything was, that's a place to go there. I put here, God is the designer, we just have to copy. God designed everything. The system, the heart, and then we copy. Some people are not willing to do that. We think that just because we are great, we're going to design the wheel again. I mean, the wheel is there. And that the students understand that the heart and the veins are there, then the air condition works the same, they feel great. And I feel great because it was able to put me there at ease. You know. It's not that difficult. You know, the compressor and the sponge. You know, I think it was incredible how he lit. Everybody was ready to do something else, and he said, "Oh, hold it there. Safety is first. Don't put your hands there because probably you can get this electricity involved here. It's also the mechanical parts, and then they just, oh, this guy is in control. This guy is going to teach us. Can we use this thing to teach safety? You know, like people, they don't understand why they have to use the helmet. Now they will willing to use the gloves and the safety boots because they know it's electricity inside there. You know, I think it's remarkable. It's incredible. I really like the style of teaching. I really enjoy it.
All right. Now, is there anything that you would suggest we should work on to improve?
One thing. There was something that he said that I really like is, if you learn this is going to help you to do the camarones. That was like pretty neat. That was like the motivation to learn.
Yeah.
You know, what's for me.
I had that down too. You're reading this stuff off. What is this here? Okay, what could you suggest to Pedro make him a better presenter?
The only thing I would say is on your visuals, I think it was the first couple of slides, the lettering was too small. I would like it just blown up just a little bit. Just the lettering alone. The other things were just fine. They're very, very good. That's it.
Okay. Others? Areas for improvement?
What did you visuals?
Huh?
What did your visuals? What did it?
We had a workshop here.
We had one day workshop, and
Yes, and the friends.
once this morning, Danny was working, you were working on, so they've been processed through the process.
A question in relation to that. I saw that the Lupa,
Magnifying glass.
this magnifying glass was in 2 colors. How did you make it? With a pilot?
Marker.
Okay.
Special mark.
I don't know if you noticed, but at the beginning, I noticed that this voice was very low. At
His
the
voice?
beginning. Yeah, was,
Yeah,
and I was,
just at the beginning.
and then suddenly he went, "Toop." It was great. But at the beginning, it was, and I don't know why.
I think more than anything, it was just because he got energy from you. Yeah,
and he got energy.
Because then once he got into his presentation and his background, boy, he just took it away.
Yeah, that's what we were. Everyone's watching me.
All right, let me try this. Let me try to summarize. You promote a lot of confidence in your bearing, a lot of confidence in yourself as a teacher. If you do the same thing as a supervisor, you're probably very, very effective. I think you exude a lot of leadership, and I think I would find no problem in having you as my supervisor. I think I would feel that you would be comfortable to work with. I think I would trust you. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. You create a climate of trust.
Somebody you would
In the
enjoy
room.
working for.
That's right.
Somebody you would really
See,
enjoy working for.
And so in the classroom, that's really important to do that. having said it, there's nothing you can do about it except be yourself. In other words, if you let yourself come out to get in touch with those students, you're always going to be very, very effective, and probably the same thing in management as well, I guess. I liked Rebecca's comment especially on the fact that you get your energy from the group, from students. And that's, again, one of those things that's a quality of what you do. For the rest of us, in looking at that, maybe this is the teaching point. Please remember there is energy in your students, in your class, and if you're feeling low on energy and you want to get some, that's a way to get it. In other words, if you've been training, say for a day or 2 days, and you're walking in after lunch, and let's face it, you're tired, and you don't have much energy, and you've got a little thing, a little shtick to do, maybe you can revise your lesson plan and start out a little bit differently and throw the ball to the students in some way. Let the students get some energy going, and you will pick up that energy, and you'll find that it can drive your lecture presentation. Your students are always a source of energy for you. One of the mistakes that we make in training, and it keeps us from getting sleep the night before, is looking and saying, how am I ever going to get enough energy to get through this next day? I've already been through one day. Where is the energy going to come from? Well, we are a closed system. Our emotional self is a closed system. We only have so much energy in it that we can tap. And sometimes if we expend it all, we look and we say, there's nothing else in here. Well, here is a source of energy right in the room. So it's a good comment. You use it very well, and we can't really say, use it more. I think you're going to do it, but you're a good role model. And I just wanted to make the point that there is energy in your students, and if you're feeling a lack of it, open yourself up to let your students energize you. Your lectures will be better, your activities will be better. That's a point. I guess the major thing that struck me is that you're a good exponent of the joy of learning. You just create a climate of joy in learning. And I'm sad to hear that you're not in front of the group more. I think you should be. But you're the supervisor, so you can decide that, see? Another thing that I liked especially was you're saying several times, why are we learning this? See, I think that's good, because that is always in the back of every student's mind at every single moment of every single training session. Why am I learning this? And when the student sees the reason for learning it, something happens. But, that connection can waver in so many different ways. And there's so many things that can distract the student from saying, okay, why do I have to know this? You do that frequently. That's a hallmark. There's just lots of little things here. Vitality. Your examples were understandable. You're dynamic. You have an energy that goes from your comment to comment to comment. That helps to create this climate. You enjoy yourself. I notice this. You enjoy your students' discovery, insight. That really turns you on. See, and that gets communicated back to the student. That's a good quality. You speak with a quiet authority. You smile. The one thing I would ask you to try to do, vary your approach with the overhead when you use it so much, and just try to stand on the side and point to the overhead as a variety to walking up to the screen. Because whether you realize it or not, when you walk in front of the screen and you get blinded and you can't see, a lot of the quiet confidence and authority that comes across is lost for a moment. And then you come up, you get out of the light, you pick it up again. So just try that. I think it will help. Thank you. It's